How's she going, boys? Mike here, welcome back to Grampie's workshop. We're continuing work on our little 3.5 horsepower Briggs Stratten. Today we're going to put some flywheel on it, and some ignition parts and pieces, and maybe the carburetor. Okay, we're going to install the flywheel on the shaft here, and this is the top of the engine, and that's a tapered output shaft, or the shaft is tapered, I mean, and it's tapered to match the taper on the flywheel. So one of the things we need is a key, so we're going to put the key in here. And this is just a square key. This is referred to as the timing key, but it's the electronic timing, the spark timing. So that goes on there, then the flywheel sits on here. Put a little anti-seize on here. Just, why not, right? And then we have this cap that goes on, and this cap, this is what the pull start engages with. So that goes on next. There's no screen on this one because there's a cowling goes over it. And then this nut. And this nut is holds the cap in place and holds the flywheel on. So we're tightening that up. And when I read the spec on this, it says we should tighten this down to 60 foot-pounds. The problem I have with that is the only socket I have that'll fit that, it's a 22 mil, 24 mil, and I don't have it's a half-inch drive, 24 mil half-inch drive, and I don't have a half-inch drive torque wrench. So I'm just going to put that in there, and I'm going to reef on it for all I'm worth. And then that should be just about 60 foot-pounds. Okay, so there's the flywheel on. Now I'm going to turn my attention to the coil. The coil mounts on here. And let me see. I think before I put the coil on, I need to put my intake manifold on. The intake manifold is going to go here. So yeah, it would be a good idea to put the intake manifold on first, because the coil is going to mount right above it. So we'll put that on. If we remember, the way we get fuel and air mixture into the cylinder is by vacuum only. It's not assisted in any way other than the vacuum. The vacuum that's created as the piston goes down. So what we want to do is put a good seal on this joint, so we should have a gasket for that. In the gasket kit, I find this gasket here, and that seems to fit right on there. Be it right or wrong, I'm just going to use a little bit of gasket, form a gasket on here. The main reason is I want to hold that gasket in place while I'm assembling it. So just a little dab. Not going to go crazy with it. Something like that. And in fact, I'm going to take a rag now and clean up a lot of this, because I did put a kind of a liberal amount on here. A liberal amount. The liberals. Okay, so we're going to set our gasket in place. Set our manifold in place, and then I need a couple of screws. I'm looking through the various screws I have, and I see a pair of these, so I'm saying that must be them. Then we'll tighten these up. Okay, so there's our intake manifold on. Now I think we can put the coil in place. And then there's an air gap that you have to set between the faces of this coil and the flywheel. The way we do that, I have a little carb kit here, and in that carb kit I just have some card stock. It's like a business card thickness, something like that. So we put that around here over the magnets. So we turn it around here until the magnet engages and pulls the coil into the flywheel, and then that'll give us a good gap setting there. So we tighten these screws. and then turn the flywheel out of there, and that should do us. So that's our coil set up. This wire will go to the ground, and we'll do the ground once we get the carburetor mounted. The high tension wire goes to the spark plug, so we're all good for that. We're coming around now to the carburation side of things. We're getting closer. So, how does that go together? I got a bunch of pieces here. But I don't know how they go together. Alright, I think I got this figured out. Get the motor on its side. This piece right here is going to slip in under there, like this. Slip in under this exhaust gas recycling valve. And then it bolts on here and here. So we'll get a couple of bolts to put that in place. Okay, so one bolt goes in here. And one up here. So the name that this is listed in the parts book, it's called the control bracket. Now, the carburetor goes on next. But before I put the carburetor on, I want to come back to the back side of the motor here. So before I start installing a carburetor, I want to put this governor linkage on. So the governor linkage is going to go here because there's going to be a connection made between here and the carburetor. So to set up the governor, I'm not exactly sure how to do that. Remember that little arm that came up against the plastic pin on the oil slinger and governor mechanism inside the crank? As the engine spun up, that little button pushed out, so that when that pushes out, that's going to push the governor away. Okay, so I turn my governor arm all the way in. So in other words, at 0 speed, this is where the governor will be, and at 0 speed, I'm going to set the governor, I don't know, right there. I don't know if this is the right spot, but we can adjust it later. Okay, so pretty good range of movement there. That's good to see. Okay, now for installing the carburetor. This is the carburetor that came on it, and I didn't even take it apart. I think it's in pretty rough shape. So I had a Briggs Stratten carburetor that I had ordered one time to repair another mower that I had, and I didn't use it. So lucky me, eh? There's a gasket set for it, and the carburetor. I wonder how close they are to being the same. It's nice and shiny anyhow. Okay, one difference I noticed right away is this one has a manual choke, and the original didn't have a choke, so I'm not sure if that's going to work or not. Sorry, this is the choke side here. This one has no choke. It's an automatic choke, this mower, so I don't know if it's going to fit. So that's going to sit in there like that, and then the air cleaner box will go on the front of it. Something like that. So now I'm going to have to think about this, about how the choke is going to work on that. Alright. I'm going to take this carburetor apart just to see, because I'm not convinced that the carb that I have with the manual choke will work. So we'll take this apart and just see what kind of condition it's in. Now there hasn't been gas in this mower in, well, more than 2 years. So a little bit of dirt in the bowl, and it's kind of off color, but not bad. It's a plastic float, so that's good. It's probably not leaking. The needle valve looks nice. Get some carb spray on her. Okay, so I'm not sure what other damage I can do to that carburetor. I'm not real happy with the cleaning I did on it. I can't get into a lot of the ports, can't get the emulsion tube out. So I think what I'm going to do is assemble the engine with this carb and see how it works. If it doesn't work with this, then what I'll do is I'll put the new carburetor on it and try to come up with some way that I can create a manual choke control, a manual choke control. So for now, we're just going to leave this as it is. We're going to initiate that oft-used mechanical principle. We're just going to leave her. So now we can get back to installing on here. So that goes on there. I think that's pretty clear, but there is an O-ring that goes in there. So we'll put an O-ring on this input manifold. Okay, as far as I can see from the manual, this O-ring goes on here, and then the carburetor slips on here, just like that, and goes in with a couple of bolts. Whoops, and we'll snug those up. The one thing that I noticed from redoing this motor, this engine, I've ordered a gasket kit for it, the complete gasket kit. Now the complete gasket kit, as I'm discovering, includes gaskets for all different versions of the engine. So when you're searching through the gaskets and say, holy dine, I'm almost finished, and look at this, I've got a bag full of gaskets left. That doesn't mean necessarily that you forgot something or you did something incorrectly. That just means that these gaskets are for another version of the motor. Or that's what I'm telling myself to try to make myself feel not so bad. I need this little connector tube that goes on here for the exhaust gas recycling. I think it'll go this way. I don't think it matters, but that's just... the gas line is going to go on here. And I'm not putting the gas line on just yet till I get the cover and the gas tank installed. The throttle linkages are going to go on here along with the governor control. So that little engine, it's almost together, eh? I think another episode and it'll be ready to be started. I hope it starts. Oh man, it's going to be scary. But anyways, we got the flywheel on, you know, and we got the coil on and the governor, and I'm struggling with this linkages and whatnot. And the gear that all goes around with the carburetor. Man, it's kind of a can of worms. But anyway, I think we'll muddle through it. And next week we should be able to get all that finished up and maybe give her a tug. You'll never know. Anyways, hey, if you're new to the channel, thanks for tuning in. I sure hope you enjoy the channel, and I'm glad you're here. And from our regular viewers, thanks a million for all your support. I know this series is getting long. I thought it would be finished before now. But hey, it won't finish until it's over. So stay tuned for the next exciting episode. In the meantime, folks, stay safe, and we'll talk to you.